All right, so a beautiful day here in San Francisco. I'm gonna have to work quickly because the light is changing. I'm gonna make something of the scene behind me. Let me show you what I'm thinking. So I'd like to include some of the storefront here and maybe the crosswalk, and then the road going off into the distance, or the street going off into the distance, and you know, with a bit of sky there, maybe the tree. I'll probably cut it off right above these windows right here. So something like that. All right, so here is the composition. So obviously my sketch is not really detailed. I just kind of want to have the major elements in place so I can start blocking in the darks. You can see there's like a strong dark pattern right along in here. I'm not sure that I'm going to follow that exactly, but you know, actually, let's see, it's going to be cut off here. Yeah, I might work with that. I'd like to see more shadows on this side here, so I might add shadows. So I've mixed up my usual mixture of alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue, and I'm going to start laying in some darks. All right, so here is the shadow pattern, and the next step is to kind of rough in the sky and some of the colors on the buildings. Definitely press for time here because I think the light is going to change fairly dramatically, especially on the front of the building, so I may try to capture that first. But honestly, I really don't know. I'm just going to be sort of seat of the pants here, typical urban plein air. Yeah, but the next thing is going to be, yeah, put in the sky and some of the other colors that are in the light, and then reinforce the darks and just keep going and hope for the best. Okay, so for the sky color, I'm using titanium white, some ultramarine blue, and phthalo blue, mostly phthalo blue. And I'm using liquid as well. And I probably will, you know, grade the sky from light to dark. But for now, I just have to work quickly and cover the panel. There's an aqua colored sign right here, so I'm going to mix a color for that. I'm using titanium white, phthalo blue, and some cadmium yellow lemon. And I'm kind of going to exaggerate the yellow in it just to create a feeling of light. All right, and this is darker than it's going to end up when I finish the painting, and obviously it's getting a little bit muddy. That's okay. I'm going to come over it later with thicker, more opaque paint. I just want to kind of generalize the colors at this point. All right, so next I want to mix some color for the shadow pattern on the building here, the yellow building. So I've mixed up a yellow color using titanium white and cadmium yellow medium, and I'm going to add some dioxazine purple. Let's see how this looks. I don't want to add too much. Okay, I'm feeling like that's all right, but I want more blue in it. But I don't want it to turn green. So I'm adding a little bit of ultramarine blue.
Can I look at what you're painting?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually filming it at this same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can say hello if you want.
Hello.
I always love when neighbors stop to say hello. I'm going to try to finish this in about an hour. Light is changing dramatically, or light is changing quickly, so I'm just going to go for it. But it's the typical thing. I'm going to take big shapes and then break them down into smaller shapes, working dark to light. So, another cable car. All right, so here's what I finished up with. Overall, I do like the composition. I think that the pattern over here, especially this building here, that's a little bit awkward. I like more how the highlights on this building are kind of an irregular shape. This is a little bit too squared off. But just the overall idea of having, you know, the storefront here and then the road leading off into the distance. I do like that compositional idea, so I'll definitely paint this scene again. It's a lot of information to handle, you know, it's a 14 by 18 inch panel. It's a lot of information to handle in a short period of time, but I do think some things, I really like the way they worked out. I like the way this car worked out right here. I think the shadow patterns up here are a little bit awkward, and then in here as well. This awning was like stripes, black and white stripes, but I felt like that would be too distracting and also difficult to paint. It would just get kind of fussy over there and too busy. And so I just decided to, you know, put a pop of orange in there. But I don't know, maybe next time I'll experiment with, you know, the black and white awning and see how that works, possibly in a bigger panel. There's enough going on in this painting that I think is working, that I think I can touch it up and, you know, and have a decent painting. All right, we'll take a closer look at this car here. The cars over here, very loosely suggested. What else? I do like the loose brushwork in the road and how you can sort of see some of the tone of the panel coming through. So if you haven't tried painting a complicated scene with a time limit, I think it's a really good thing to do. I think you might be surprised at the outcome. Most of the time when I'm painting cityscapes or urban scenes, I'm really unsure pretty much through the whole process, but I've learned to accept that because oftentimes I'm surprised by the results at the end, and often, you know, there are like magical moments that occur that would not occur if I was being slower and more careful in the painting process. So, you know, I always remind myself that the steps to creating a painting are very, you know, it's always the same. And, you know, which is basically, you know, sketch out your composition in burnt sienna, scrub in approximate colors, and then come in with loaded strokes. You know, load the brush, make a stroke, load the brush, make a stroke, starting with your darks, moving towards your lighter values, and, you know, just breaking down the larger shapes into smaller shapes. And you can take it as far as you want. You know, as far as like breaking down your larger shapes into smaller shapes. So that's the process right there, and I follow that every time. But where it can get complicated with, say, cityscapes is that there's so much color, and that's where I think a limited palette can be helpful, so that there's color harmony. And you could do, you know, like say a split primary palette where you have like a warm and cool of each of the primaries. That's more or less what I do, with a few earth tones thrown in there as well. But I think keeping your palette simple really helps to keep color harmony. So that's one of the challenges about cityscapes. The other is just getting the sketch accurate is really tough. But anyway, I think it's really good to do. It's a good challenge, and as long as you're easy on yourself about it, and just one of the things I do is I'll say, you know, this painting doesn't have to totally work out. Like, if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But if there are little areas that kind of work out, well, then I can pay attention to those, and I can, you know, sort of add those to my painting vocabulary and use those in the future, you know. So yeah, don't worry about, if you're doing like a complicated scene, especially in the beginning, don't worry if it works out. Just look for a few areas in your painting that you think did work and try to build on those. And then also look at the stuff that doesn't work and figure out how you can do it better next time. And I think it can be really good to return to the same scene multiple times. I plan to go back and repaint this scene multiple times. And I think that it's, you know, at different times of day as well. But I think that, you know, the more I paint it, the better I'm going to get at it. So, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, that most of my landscapes and my seascapes I do completely on location. So for my recent show at Studio Gallery, all my landscapes and seascapes were plein air paintings. But and actually 4 of my cityscapes were plein air as well. But I want to move towards having all of my cityscapes be plein air paintings. And that's really difficult. I mean, it's obviously difficult to find a place to set up, but it's also just more challenging subject matter. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to see some extra videos and help support the channel, there's a Patreon link down below. It's a Patreon support that keeps me making these videos. Other than that, stay creative, and I'll see you guys in the next video.